Of course. Hail, traveler.
Beg your pardon, I have a message for you. You are summoned to Hedred House, where Lady Webb wishes to meet you as soon as possible. And here I thought the locals were exaggerating about Denver. Seems like your name's come up in some important meetings. Hope nobody was shouting at the time. Where can I find Hadrid House? It's just over there, my lord. The southwest corner of Brackenbury. You'll find the lady upstairs. Very well. As you near the apparition, you are suddenly overcome by a powerful anxiety that sits like a stone in your stomach. The feeling is not quite real, the recollection of an emotion rather than the emotion itself. It wrenches your insides, nevertheless. The apparition's brow is tensed, a look of concern plain across his face.
The other missionaries say you have been neglectful of your duties.
They lie.
They speak out of concern for you. Now tell me, is there something to their concerns?
Forgive me, Eminence. I wish to leave the Order.
You have been an apt student, and your convictions have inspired those around you. May I ask what has changed to make you feel this way?
My family hasn't taken my new faith well and will no longer speak with me.
The trials of faith can be without mercy, separating us from those we love, leaving no easy answers.
I have failed the gods. I've broken my oath.
You have failed no one. The gods would not ask you to abandon your family. It is your family that has failed you.
They stand by their beliefs.
Yet they do not allow you the same. They would have you trade your deepest beliefs for their affections. If you allow this, you will gain their acceptance, but lose their respect.
What other choice do I have?
Hold firm to your convictions. Continue your work. Believe in the power of the gods to reach all people. Your family will find them on their own.
What if they don't?
As long as you worship the gods, you will never be without family. You needn't choose between the two.
Will you stay with us? Finish what you've started. I will. The woman clutches a thick stack of parchment with spindly, wrinkled fingers, their flesh stretched thin to near translucence. With extreme age, a gossamer veil over pale blue veins. Ink splotches and candle burns do dot and stripe her hands like a quilt patterned after some great, indescribable truth. She does not look up from her reading.
So, the messenger conveyed my summons. A miracle that would make the reincarnation of Aothis look like a child's cantrip, surely. It doesn't draw the most inspired minds, messaging. They failed me so many times of late, I nearly sent a cipher after you instead. So this is the Watcher who took over Cad Noir. Oh, don't look so surprised. It isn't an attractive expression. I wouldn't be where I am for long if I let details like that escape me.
So it's true, those spies of hers don't miss much.
And this fiasco in the sanitarium that you seem to have gotten yourself into the middle of. What in blazes possessed you to stir that nest?
It was a personal matter.
A personal matter that has you tracing the footsteps of the leaden key. Must be some problem you have. You're not the only one with an interest in their recent activities. I've lost 4 ciphers this year alone trying to get someone inside their ranks. As it is, we only have our suspicions about who is in the group and what they intend. Which I suppose means we have much in common with them. I asked you here because I wanted to know what your interest was in all of this. I thought perhaps we might help each other. Why are you looking for the Leaden Key?
I ran across a man in one of the ruins. It's important that I find him again. She closes her eyes and the lids flicker. Then her face goes still and her mouth parts, little more than a sliver. And her hand briefly drops open, spilling some of her parchment, the page wafting around her legs like the leaves of a dying tree. Her fleshy eyelids peel back and her gaze is immediately upon you.
The gods are cruel, I'm afraid. The man you seek is Theos Ix Arcanon, Grand Master of the Leaden Key. One of the most elusive and dangerous men Eora has ever known.
How do you know I seek Theos?
Because you have seen his face, and that makes it a simple matter for me to see it. You even happened to catch him in his ceremonial garb, it seems. Must have been a special occasion.
What can you tell me about him?
More than most, though very few would know so much as his name. And there is no way of knowing how much of what I've read is true. The Leaden Key dates back more than 2,000 years. If rumors are to be believed, Theos was the one who created it. What scraps of evidence exist suggest that he has died many times, only to be reborn each time exactly the same man. Awakened during adolescence with all the knowledge and experience of all his lifetimes. The plots he orchestrates sometimes take hundreds of years to bear fruit. Needless to say, this is not the natural order of things. But he is said to be one of Woedica's favored, and that old bat was never one to let rules get in the way of favoritism. That may also explain another supposed gift of his. His body is no boundary to his soul, and he is known to take possession of others, if their souls are weak enough. Often it is for elaborate deceptions, but sometimes he simply forces them to kill themselves. He is not known for his generous supply of pity. He is also not one to show himself in any but their most critical matters. If he has directly involved himself in whatever the group plots now, it may be your only chance to find him. And once you do find him, if you can find him, I would not hold my hopes too high if I were you. He is a driven, single-minded man. He will not have the slightest concern for your problems.
How do you know so much about Theos?
The same way I come by all my knowledge. Exhaustive research, spying, bribery, perhaps some less savory measures. Whatever the knowledge demands, I pay in full. There is nothing of greater value. Unfortunately, with Theos, there is also nothing more scarce. He has covered his tracks far too well. His manipulations of the course of history are lost to time now, though I believe they were many.
What do you want from me?
Keep me informed. The Leaden Key has been busy lately, and that is distressing news. I can only guess as to what they intend. You seem to have a knack for turning the stones they've crawled beneath. Keep turning them. Dunreed Row will not stop you. Whatever it is they're up to, figuring it out will be of great use to both of us. In your case, it will surely point you to Theos. In return, I will share our knowledge with you as we learn it, and provide you with what assistance I can.
Very well.
If you find your trail has run cold, come to me with whatever you have. There is much I may be able to do for you.
Farewell.
Try your best not to die out there. How fares your search?
There's something I can tell you about the Leaden Keys operations.
Well, let's hear it.
I found Theos in Brackenbury Sanitarium impersonating a patient. He was trying to damage the public's opinion of animancy.
Forgive me, it is unlike Theos to leave witnesses. He must be furious. He did not aid you as you'd hoped, I take it? Well, take heart. With any luck, when he has finished his business, he will surely come and find you again, if only to kill you while you sleep. This news of yours makes sense, of course. To dabble in animancy is to puzzle over the secrets of the gods. This would not be the Leaden Key's first action against it. But if this is connected to their other activities, we may be in for something on a much larger scale. If we can learn more about their goals and methods, perhaps we can get the palace behind us. With Avar's support, we may be able to put a stop to this.
That's all.
Good day, stranger.
Sorry, but this district's closed by order of the Duke himself. Let me in, or whatever's on the other side of that gate will be the least of your problems. Take it easy. Look at your neck. Don't say we didn't warn you. A woman bends over a roaring fireplace, feeding a splintered chair leg into it. As you get closer, you notice something unnatural about her. A certain pallor to her skin, a lack of movement beneath her flesh, even while her arms execute deft, efficient movements. And then you see the puckered flesh, ragged and bloodless over her heart. I would not get too close. Look there, she is not truly living, and such things always hunger after life.
It's rude to stare, you know. Don't worry. I've no mind to start anything with you. After all, I've stayed in such good shape by choosing my meals carefully.
I saw you in a vision. There's something you need to do for me.
Believe me, I've heard that line before.
What happened here?
An incredible act of animancy, of a magnitude this part of the world likely hasn't seen since Engwithan times. Someone found something very powerful and ancient, and I'd bet my own preserved life it wasn't Aldhelm or his lovely assistant.
I still don't understand why this district is full of walking corpses. Because someone found a way to tether their souls to their bodies, don't you see? So when the heart stops beating, when the blood stops flowing, their bodies still animate, and with a newfound hunger. Those that can feed it with living flesh and essence stay strong and sharp. Those that can't degenerate quickly. Tell me what you know about this Aldhelm. His name barely merits repeating. He's a charlatan who likes to dig up pretty artifacts and call himself a scholar. The pity with animancy these days is that just about anybody can claim to be an expert. Who are you?
A survivor, by the grace of my own careful preparations. When I heard the claws scrabbling at the door outside, I took care of matters myself. And since then, I've been careful to keep myself fresh and fed.
It's time for me to get going.
Still nothing.
A man hunches over the strange mechanism, his spine a sharp ridge rising from his back. He's barely clothed in filthy rags, and the patches of skin you see are mottled green. A spoiled stench emanates from him. When he turns and sees you, he snarls and scuds behind the Audra pedestal. Only his bared teeth seem to have escaped decay. His eyes are yellow and bloodshot, but they flicker with intelligence. He averts his gaze and holds a hand in front of his face.
Shouldn't be here. What do you want?
Give me a reason not to cleave you in half.
I'm so close. I can figure it out. Reverse the mechanism. I just need time. Time and research. We came to do research on the tower. Some commission from gods. It hardly matters now.
If I had a cup of skate for every fool animancer whose thirst for knowledge led to disaster, well, I would never have ended up in Gilded Vale, that's for sure. Keep talking, Eldhelm.
Something happened on our 11th night. Lights in the sky and a static charge in the air. But we were so careful. We were staying in the chambers below. Trindig, my assistant, said he saw a robed figure lurking around the tower. Wore a mask. Carried knives at his sides. A trick of shadows, I told him. The next morning we felt strange. Like we hadn't eaten in weeks. So dazed that we didn't at first notice the blood around our beds. The strange wounds that had appeared overnight. And the machine. This cursed spire. Dormant for 2,000 years. Lifeless through hundreds of our experiments. And we wake that morning to find it spinning on its own. On its own! How can we stop what we couldn't start?
As exciting as the prospect of a living machine may be, I suspect that, given mention of a machine and a masked figure both, there is another explanation.
Years I've been doing this. Years. I know how these things work, but I don't know how this happened. Nowhere to go. That's the problem. Their souls are trapped here like flies in a jar, clinging to rotting meat.
Get to the point first.
I am trying. I've studied contraptions like this for years, and still the most basic elements elude me. It has the power to manipulate souls, but why? For what? And how many others lie buried in the ruins of Erglanfath? No. Focus on this one. It's imprisoned our souls in our bodies. Cut the root between essence and flesh. Left a dwindling soul stuck in a shriveling husk.
What happened to the rest of your team?
By the time I realized what had happened, the district had already been sealed. So we fed when we needed, and locked ourselves in the tower to work. And then there came a time when the hunger struck, and there was hardly anyone left.
You're not like the ghouls in the street.
Not yet. But I will be. My body is dead. My soul, imprisoned in this corpse, only makes it seem otherwise. And as the body decays, so does the mind. Until nothing is left but the hunger. The only way to forestall the process is through a regular infusion of essence. Living flesh is the only ready supply. I'm not proud of any of it. Hunting men and women in the early days of the affliction. Picking off soldiers that came to investigate. But I'd do it again. I'll do it as long as I must to end this disaster. You could help. Help me end this. Help me find sustenance.
There was a stranger the night this happened.
I didn't see him. My assistant, he saw him. We laughed. Said he was spooked by the cemetery. Perhaps it was already too late. I don't know what he did. But by morning the machine was on and we were slain. People were already on the streets, complaining of neighbors and family members acting strangely.
How can I help?
Not your help I need. It's Harridan, shrew. Squanders her research on frivolities, then refuses to make herself useful. Runes. The runes are the last part of the puzzle. Acantha knows them. She gives them to you, and you can turn the machine off. Release our souls.
Wait, runes? Anguithan runes? She can read them? He speaks at his feet so blandly. Let's talk instead to this Harridan. I pick her thoughts a time. She wasn't here the night the machine came on. Staying with her patron somewhere near. Too good to be burdened with our ignorant company. If Acantha knows the control words, I don't see why I need your help.
Help. I help you. Yes. You bring me the word.
Help. I help you, yes. You bring me the words, and something to keep me strong. Then I show you a secret about the machine, something to make you strong. Acantha was here, in Heritage Hill. Must be still. Clever lady, that one. This is an Animancer in his natural state, Watcher. Never has he respected the sanctity of the god's creation, only now he no longer has the cunning to hide it. He should be put down like a sick animal, although not without first putting his spirit to rest. Yeah, well, if he's gonna buff me, fuck that.
Eh?
Yes.
Be
return. What if you come seeking this time?
I need the words that operate the Anguithan machine in the tower.
That fool Aldhelm. He sent you, didn't he? I can hardly believe he's had the cleverness to survive. That simpleton thinks he can understand how to use something without understanding what it is, or why it is. He dabbles with ancient and powerful devices, with all the finesse of a blacksmith. He sends you here to petition me for aid after years of disparaging my research. I'll bet he didn't even tell you the tower's name, did he? That's his problem. Always looking for solutions without caring for meaning.
What's the tower's name?
Ter Nuneth. It's called Ter Nuneth. They built the machine atop it to contain souls, hold them in place. But the
Where
others
would they
I've seen,
move the souls?
machines scattered all over the Dyrwood, are relays, built to move souls. Another mystery. Hypothetically, anywhere they wished, the real question, as always, is why? To intermix them the way a player shuffles his deck, the way a farmer rotates his fields? To collect them, like butterflies under glass? To melt them down for raw essence? Unfortunately, I don't know.
You seem to know a lot about Tyr North.
I read the runes like a journal. I understand their meaning. People like Aldhelm try to read them like instructions, and in so doing, they miss their true meaning completely.
Why would the Anguithans have wanted to tether souls?
Perhaps they didn't. Perhaps that's why they built no other machines like this one. We now see the Anguithans as masters of soul manipulation, but they couldn't have attained their expertise without copious trial and error. Perhaps this was one such experiment.
How do you operate the machine atop Tyr Nuneth?
Back to these tinkers' concerns. And what would you do with these tethered souls if I told you?
I'd harvest them for essence.
And so give their existence purpose. But what kind, I wonder?
I could help you, but I won't. The pride lodged in her soul flares up, twisting into the shape of something that writhes and squeals within her. Here, I have specimens aplenty and time enough to observe them all. It's every scientist's dream. My answer is no. What? But what good is observing all this if you're going to hoard it for yourself? An entire language at your fingertips. And she hides it away. Extinguish her pride. The vampire doesn't seem to notice as you wrap your mind around that squalling, burning mass. However, it sears your bones. You jump back crying out in pain. I won't abandon this opportunity. These souls will remain here with me, and I'll accomplish more than any Animencer in the history of the field. And who will know about it? The pride thing flickers as the flames abate. All I've learned, years of studying Anguithan language, no one understands it better than me. That counts for something. Extinguish the pride. You force your essence around the burning lump, but it scorches you. But what use is it? Her pride rages. Use! Why must something so pure be fashioned into a blunt instrument? Your opportunities here are finite. One day, that knowledge will die with you. You're wrong. I'll build it forever. I'll cling to it. That will give me something. Extinguish her pride. Will that really be enough for you? It must be. Teach me what you know. I'll make sure that it grows and your legacy lives on.
So be it. My studies and efforts shall grow through yours. These are the words you need.
Her cold, dry fingertips rest on your temples and you feel her reaching into your mind, forming images from the darkness. Runes flash through your head, but they're no longer just pictures. They have meaning and you understand them. They're commands. Something triggers in your mind, a distant memory unearthed from a past life long since buried. You can see a vast array of runes, far more than Ikantha has shown you, and you know their sound and their meaning and how they fit together. The language of Anguith once more at your command.
Something has awakened in your mind. You understand far more than I ever did. Take this knowledge then, and do what you will with Ter Nuneth. Now that you understand its purpose, it will serve you in whatever way you wish.
A speaker of dead tongues now. And so he surpasses 100 frustrated scholars in the matter of a few moments. I don't suppose you could look at a few books for me. What do I do with the tower, now that I know
Turn
these
it off,
words?
I expect. That will be easy now that you can read the runes. The vessels would still roam, but striking them down would return their essence to the cycle. But be careful. That machine controls hundreds of souls, and that volume of essence could easily overload it. Improperly channeling the essence would destroy the machine along with the souls. It would be a terrible loss for posterity.
If only we could get all Animancers together in one place. Perhaps we could destroy their souls as well.
Jagged Azure pillar rises in front of you, encased in stonework and run through with copper veins. The panel is covered with runes, which you can now understand. You recognize the words for end and for hold. The dial is currently fixed on hold. You also recognize by an inscription that the manner in which you turn the dial is a means of throttling the vice. Choose end. At your command, words leave your lips. The dial sinks into the Adra. Something like a thunderclap overhead. Glow fades from the machine as it falls dormant.
Still.
Oh, it's off! Does this mean the curse is lifted? Defiance Bay owes me. I better get a manor in Brackenbury for this.
Well, that's not for me to decide, but I'm sure the city will see you well rewarded.